Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Max Colonization series. Yes, we're still on the home planetoid, but we're getting closer. With the sauna pretty much complete and all the bones in place, it's time to start concentrating on the south side of the colony, specifically making sure we have everything we need before we start heading over to other planetoids. For me in the background, that's going to start to include getting rid of all of this excess here. I'll probably stop down here at the bee biome, not quite sure what to do with it yet, although I'd love to be able to tap this chlorine gas vent. In fact, I'll probably do that today and send that chlorine all the way up to this situation going on in here. I'm also going to have excess chlorine coming from the rusty deoxidizer, but I need to get the Jawbos and the fish going. I think we'll be doing that today in the forefront. Something else we need to talk about is the fact that the rusty deoxidizer, when we do get it complete, is not going to produce as much oxygen as we want. So I'm thinking about expanding our SPOM into a standard SPOM. Now look, before you riot in the comments, one of the reasons why I want to do that is because I want to get the somnium synthesizer going soon, which means I'll need 6 more dupes as full-time sleepers to generate the dream journals, etc., etc. But right now, we can only support at max around 16 dupes, so that's not going to do it all. Before I continue the digging though, I did want to let you know I did make a boo-boo down here. You can see a bunch of brine and other junk waters in our wonderful polluted water tank, and that's because there was a gap right here. And so when I dropped all those liquids, some of it went over here, spilled over, and made a mess. I tried to clean it up as much as I could, but this is what we're left with. So I've now put a water filter in our SPOM. Only regular clean water will end up going to the colony and to the SPOM. Everything else will get dumped into this tank that we'll eventually have to deal with as well. More on that in a little bit, but the digging must continue. I can also deconstruct those tanks. I need to get in here and clean all this up. All this needs to be mopped. I've got sweeps going on everywhere. I started up here. What are these going on here? Snazzy suits? Why haven't we put on the snazzy suits? Dave gets a snazzy suit. Ed and Walt gets a snazzy suit. Since we're doing okay on calories and I'm not really worried about the lums, we have a few in the spare, I think it's time to also upgrade this to what I should have done before and make this a hydroponics tile. And that way we can feed the water to it directly instead of having dupes drop off the 90 kilos every single cycle. I've also been trying to think of creative ways to get the printing pod back on this side of the colony. Remember, our main spine is right here. I suppose I could put the suits up one and just have like an extra level here, but then they couldn't slide all the way down. I've got water tanks and SPOMs in the way. I think it's gonna have to stay like this. Elsewhere on the colony, you notice there's a bunch of snack fruits up here from the earlier sweeps, and it's because we have nowhere to sweep them to. The same goes with a bunch of stuff that comes out of the printing pod. Lastly, it was a little bit of pemmican, and I want to be able to get all that stuff over here. So what I'm going to do is put a nice refrigerator in here that's going to act as a place where I can go sweep only and then anything edible. So anything edible that comes to be here, sweep only, will get gobbled up. I'm also going to put it on a lower level, say a 3, and that way the conveyor loader still has a higher priority, definitely doesn't need to be a 9 anymore. So anything that comes over here will end up getting picked up by the auto sweeper and thrown back into the deep freezer. At least that's the theory. Let's put a sweep down. Old Andy's bringing stuff down. It gets picked up and then thrown back into the deep freezer. Very nice. I think it would also be nice to get a sweepy going in here to pick up all the extra food that people seem to love to waste. It took me longer than I want to admit to find Sweepy's dock, but here it is over in utilities. And I'm pretty sure it'll be okay inside the mess hall. I haven't really done this too often, so I'm not sure if I had it outside the mess hall with the door open so Sweepy could go in. And no, we don't want to make Sweepy's dock out of iridium. Gold will be just fine. If we look at the room description for a Great Hall, you can see, much like the other buildings, there is no industrial machinery allowed. So something like a gas pump that says it's in the category of industrial machinery can't go in your mess hall. But the auto sweeper has no such restriction, so we can throw the auto sweeper there and a conveyor loader, and we'll connect it right to the same line that heads off into the deep freezer. And then on the conveyor loader, we'll just say edible. I will need to power everything. And there we go. We've got a great little sweepy keeping our mess hall clean. It's not a major change, but it's something. Oh no, why are we at high stress? Oh, that's not good. Maybe I should have waited for Sweepy? How long have you been down here? Oh, soiled suit. Sorry, Ettenwalt. Elsewhere in our digging, we have some wonderful sporkids sitting here wanting to give off many millions of zombie spore germs, but we're not going to let them. Fortunately for us, we have plenty of liquid, and so we should be able to drown them out, even though there is a lot of carbon dioxide. Oh, there's already zombie spores in here? Where did we get zombie spores? It's okay. It's okay. They'll die eventually. And we're in suits, so it doesn't matter. On the right side of the colony, we have the saltwater geyser. I want to be able to tame it because we can desalinate the water and get a ton of salt from it. We don't really have a lot of things that we need the water for, but every little bit helps. I'm also building a ladder well down here. I'm going to drop all this stuff all the way down into this pit. The same thing on the west side. I'm going to just drop everything down in here and we'll deal with it later. Now's the time to figure out where I'm going to put the Pacu Ranch and the Jawbo Ranch. Remember, the whole idea behind the Pacus is to be able to feed the Jawbos, so we're not doing anything with the Pacu fillets, well, other than taking their eggshells, turning them into lime so we get more sweet, sweet steel. The Jawbos, on the other hand, though, will give us a bunch of rust, which we can in turn make more iron out of, which not necessary that we need the iron for sure. But they'll also give us 12,000 calories of Jawbo fillets, which is really quite nice. Oh, there's a baby dartle in trouble. Here you go, baby dartle. Why don't we move you into the nature reserve? And I've completely forgot about the Lum's food source, so let me go ahead and deconstruct this tile. With the Mimica bud in here, it will help the overgrowths get back online sooner rather than later. But no doubt those are going to be some hungry boy lums for a little while. As a water source, we're just going to tie it in with the same water that's heading off to our research lab. So the drowning of the sporkids has gone off without a hitch, although there is 25 million zombie spores in this tile right here, and I'd rather not let that out. So we're just going to build a tile and smush it. You'll notice though that some of the brine water and stuff here has some germs, but they're quickly dying. And the germs are gone. So we can deconstruct that, and then I can continue our digging. I think we're going to end up putting the fish aquarium over here, along with the Jawbo. I want to make sure I leave enough room for our sleeping headquarters, which will probably go somewhere like this. And the oxygen that we do create will go into a rusty deoxidizer, probably something like here. So I don't see why we can't put the aquariums right down here. Now, when building my aquariums, there's a couple of things that I'm looking for. First is they have to be 96 tiles. The second is I like to make sure that one auto sweeper can hit the entire bottom. So yeah, you could go with a longer aquarium, but then you need more auto sweepers, and I think this works out well. In this case though, I think I want to go a little bit lower, just to make sure that we have enough room for the rusty deoxidizer and the sleeping headquarters. There we go. 2 identical aquariums. One's going to be for the Pacu, the other's going to be for the Jawbos, because as we'll learn here in a few minutes, it takes 1 ranch worth of Pacu to feed 1 ranch of Jawbos. I may shift this around a little bit because I'm going to want a place to store all the Pacu fillets, but there's a few different methods that we can use, but for now this is okay. I suppose first step is going to be filling this with water. I have our freshwater storage here. And what I can do is put our main water line. Why aren't you going up? Why do you need direction? It's this input here from the bottle filler for the emulsifier that's causing some confusion. So 1 bridge there will do just fine. And now we can start filling this water tank, but we also don't want to overfill it. Now, some people like to just let the water level rise, because once the liquid vent is submerged enough, it'll stop emptying. The issue with that strategy is, what if when we filled, there was another liquid in its way? So this whole level was, say, just 10 kilos of polluted water. Well, then the water might end up filling too high, because the vent only recognizes the little bit of the polluted water and none of the 1,000 kilos of regular water. Well, apparently, and a little bit of salt water? Oh, let's see if I can't get rid of that. So what I like to do is put a hydro sensor in play. You can put it right next to the vent or to just whatever level you want it. Connect it in, and then we can set specifically, hey, when the liquid hits the hydro sensor, just stop. Close the vent. There we go. No more salt water there. And we're going to duplicate that effort right there. Now we have two options. I could take a liquid pump, put it in our new water tank, and just start sending it over there. And that way I'm not starving our main line where we actually have a use for it. Or I could just provide an overflow, which I think in this case is going to be a little easier. And we will drop the water there. It's going to take a little while, but I still have a lot of digging to do. And the dupes keep wanting to get trapped because I'm doing other things. Oh, there's another baby dartle. So you might be wondering why I'm going through the process of making sure this is our primary water tank. Especially considering we already have a primary water spine being fed by both the polluted water vents. Well, the reason why you do a primary tank is because then when I want to start adding in water from, say, the saltwater geyser, I can have that water be dumped onto this spine too. And all that water, regardless of how different it started, can all be combined in this one tank. And then we can feed the spine by using one pump here. Now, the only thing that sort of gets in our way here is that we're using the cool water from this cool slush geyser to keep our spawn cool, and thus all the oxygen coming out of it. Speaking of which, I should probably get to work on extending this. I've never really extended a spawn, so this is going to be a little interesting. First things first, I suppose I will move as much of the liquids and stuff around because I gotta make this that much wider. So this line looks like it's gonna go up through here. Correctly placed bridge. And then I'll remove this, and then I'll be able to extend this one over a little bit. This is going to be a little bit more complicated. Let me move the liquid shutoff over. Then I'll need to tie in the automation, and of course the power to it. Remember, this is controlling whether or not we need to start rotating the chilled water with the cool slush geyser, because we don't want that oxygen to come all the way down to 7 degrees, so we allow the polluted water to warm up a little bit before we rotate it through. And I still forgot to plant the overgrow node. I'm sorry, buddy, you'll be eating soon. Well, maybe not in 6.2 cycles. Down here in the bee biome, I have managed to tame the chlorine gas vent. We received 13 sweet databanks out of it. Got a normal gold amalgam gas pump in here. The chlorine gas vent doesn't get any hotter than 60 degrees. So we should be good on that front. I have the Atmos sensor in here just in case we ever did want to add some automation to this, but for now I will just say as long as it is above 0, and all of that gas is going to take by pipe. We cut through the trash carbon dioxide coming from the smokers and the hydrogen going up to our sauna. We ride it all the way over here, and then we're just going to cut across into a dartle gas reservoir. From there, it's going to come up and then just sink right into here. The reason why I'm using the gas reservoir is because I'm only going to use a standard gas vent. Remember, the megafrons can get overpressurized at 10 kilos, so we want to make sure that doesn't happen. And this will give us more storage for the chlorine gas in the event it's producing too much for our megafron and our dartles. Now, it is coming in at 60 degrees, but remember, our megafron farm has a nice little liquid naphtha cooling loop, so I'm not too worried about the temperature differential. Lucky for us, we're in the middle of a meteor shower, which is not something that people normally say, but it allows us to use some blast shots. And by using those blast shots means our blast shot maker will start being used again, which means I can finally drain this line of all that sweet biodiesel. I will separate it from here for now, and this shouldn't take too much longer. Oh no, you did a bad thing, Echo. Stop it. Stop right now. You need to go this way. I was a little overzealous and combined the water with the biodiesel line. That's okay. And no, I haven't forgotten about the Jawbos. It just takes a little long, especially considering we're using water right now for the overgrow node. Our primary water tank is full, although it sure doesn't look like it, does it? Why are you sending a red signal? Oh, if it's below 1 kilo, that'll help. But once that gets full again, and the overgrow node is less thirsty, this will start filling a little bit faster. Something else that we could do to make this go a little faster is add in another water sieve, or at least another source of water going into this line. Because remember, the water sieve has a maximum output of 5 kilos per second, but each line can actually carry 10 kilos. So I think it is time to analyze and tame this guy, although it is dormant. Maybe it's coming active soon. It'll also mean I need to clear out this area of all these goodies. And I don't think I want to do another big water tank like this. I think I'm just going to seal it up, throw a desalinator on top of it, although I am going to have to figure out the heat on that. Oh, I could use this cooling loop right here. I could extend it all the way across, and it could also keep the desalinator cool. Because one issue with the saltwater geyser is it comes out at 95°C. And 95°C would slowly heat up our base, and the overgrow wouldn't appreciate it because it gets stifled at 45. Our sweat corns get stifled at 40. I also have our deep freezer coolant line, which for some reason is not running right now, which means something is broken. Do I just need to take a little bit out? There we go, that's better. Now even when the Aquatuner is not running, the coolant loop is still running. I could use this line, although naphtha is not as good of a coolant as the salt water, but I also don't need to get it very cold. No, I think that's a bad idea. Another sweet 13 data banks. We're getting this cleaned up now. And it looks like our next activity here is not for another 26 cycles. I also have this cool steam vent, which is going to need cooling as well. So maybe we just throw a steam turbine and Aquatuner solution here, although this steam turbine is already pretty annoying because it's not connected to the main spine. I feel like I'm getting squirreled right now. I'm getting squirreled, aren't I? Update on our digging progress. We're done over here on the west side, once again all the way down to the bee biome, and the same over on the east side. I am starting to pop the fossils for the ancient specimen. We got the frozen fossil here, the amber fossil here, then we have the hot boy right here, the petrified, and the ancient one right here. We also have access to the gravitas shipping container, so just as soon as I'm able to make better foods, I'm hoping to complete this quest as well. Our tanks, well, they're still filling, because I still have not figured out what I want to do with this warm water. I am taking a bunch of salt water and filling it up. I want at least 2 layers, and that way it pushes all the gases out before I seal it up. Now that we've excavated the first one, we can actually demolish it. I think we'll keep it for now. It is a decent decor item. I just wish you could move it around. It would be really keeping with the whole prehistoric theme if you could move those big fossils around. After all, we're now able to build fossil blocks. Speaking of which, maybe we should put a couple here in the mess hall. This would be nice, huh? We'll see how those turn out. We do have a Masterworks artist. 2 of them, actually. I am Pud and Jesse. And plenty of fossil because we can't seem to turn the corner up here at the popper rocks, although we are up to 25 tons of steam thanks to all this lime coming out. We have a backstock of 1.6 tons of lime, but right now I have the dupes doing so many things that the errand list is getting quite big. But back to our saltwater geyser and our cool steam vent. I've been trying to figure out a way how to cool them, and I'd really like to get another thermo aquatuner up here. I can't really figure out how to fit one here. Putting one right here means I'd have to go through all sorts of pain just to get the cooling loop down there. But I suppose I could use that loop for other things in the future. It could be maybe like a primary loop. I will end up putting it here on the second level. I do not want to put it down here just in case we need this room for more power transformers. And here we go again with another thermo aquatuner. Automation with our liquid pipe thermo sensor is in. Now we need some plumbing. We know the loop's going to come up through the sensor, hit the input on the aquatuner, go up to the bridge. The output will just connect to the output of the bridge and then back down. Now, how in the world am I going to get that over there? I don't even have a lot of room here, unless I moved it over here. Let me give this some more thought and I'll show you what I come up with in a few. It seems like I still have plenty of time to wait. I also want you to take note of all these liquid reservoirs because I am starting to develop a plan. Keep in mind a lot of these are loaded up with, well, tons of brine and salt water. But I have a plan for all the 5-ton water bottles that are about to come out. But if I am going to get a cooling loop down here, I need to clean this area up a little bit. These are pretty easy bridge jumps, but this would have been a pain in the tuchus. And of course, as chaos would go, I've noticed a bunch of overgrow figs being delivered to this refrigerator, which should not be because they're on sweep only. And one of the reasons is probably because we have these on harvest, which we do not want to harvest. I just had not reset it. Oh, Lummy boy. How old are you? 46, 41. Let's move the 41. In fact, I can move both of them in there. They'll regulate, right? Oh, there's a little lum right there. Never mind. So our lum ranch is back online. In the end, I've decided to move that thermal aquatuner over here into the center of the sauna. I think this is going to be a little bit of a cleaner route. This is the input, so we know which way the bridges are going to go. And I don't know what kind of cooling I'm going to do yet because I haven't designed that, but regardless, it'll happen somewhere over here, and then we know the return is going to come right back up. At great expense. No, not granite! Who keeps making all these pipes out of granite? I swear I've not wanted to build a pipe out of granite since the beginning of this game. What are the chances that Dave Hammer is going to build themselves into a watery prison? Well, 100%. No, Dave. We're not building it from there. Oh, Dave. Maybe somebody else will come by and finish that in the correct way. We'll put this one on a priority 6, so it's completed first, so they have no choice but to build it from the outside. Oh no, there's a little bottle here! I'm also starting the process of taming this cool steam vent. They are notoriously difficult to tame. I'm going to start off by putting a little bit of a naphtha lock right here, and that way I can vacuum this whole place out. There we go. Now I can get in here, bulldoze all of this. Hopefully that water doesn't mess with my naphtha lock. It should be okay. There's plenty of available space. We'll just do a quick gas pump. The only purpose of this gas pump is to vacuum out this area because for your cool steam vents, you do want it to be a vacuum in here. So that way when the steam does come out, there's nothing interrupting it from condensing. And I think I'm going to need another fresh power line down here. Where can I get one from? Well, it's time to do the scoot again. Or maybe we won't scoot. We'll just grab this one and bring it over and down. Yeah, that'll be fine. No, it won't, will it? Alright, give me another minute. Sanity has been saved. I did just push all the lines over. Remove that bridge, a couple little leftovers, and then this first transformer is the one, since it's all the way over on the right, will provide power to this area. To include the power for the gas pump that we just put in. We did have enough space for that water. Next up is going to be some temperature shift plates. We do have access to diamond, so the entire center area will be nothing but diamond temperature shift plates. I still want a little bit more of a thermal medium, but I don't want to put temperature shift plates up against the insulated tile or they'll inject and share temperatures with those. So this is actually one of the rare cases that we have a functional reason to put drywall. In this case, we will use the rainy print and we'll use igneous rock because it is slow heating. And that way we have yet another 100 kilos worth of thermal medium inside of this tamer. Here at cycle 884, I think we're actually going to take this Travaldo. They're not interested in much, but they do start with a +8 athletics, which means I don't have to put them into the gym first. Their only negative is that they're irritable bowel. Yeah, Ruby's got a +10 to athletics. Unfortunately, Ruby's flatulent. So welcome to the colony duplicate number 15, Brett Thomas. And because I have not fixed this quite yet, I need to take Brett and we'll instantly move them inside like that. I guess it's not too bad of a deal. We will throw Brett into some improved carry to get them to suit sustainability a little bit sooner. On their priorities, Brett's staying even. We don't care what Brett does. So they're sort of an everything dupe, and they'll do it pretty quickly. Our cool steam vent tamer is being vacuumed out, and while we do that, I need to run this cooling loop through it. Now remember, I also need a pump in here, so it kind of makes it a little awkward. Gold should work well because it'll never get hotter than 110 degrees. We also need the assistance of our hydro sensor because we do not want to siphon out any water unless it hits a certain level, and this is an important aspect of the cool steam vent tamer. I will take the water straight out like this because I have an idea for what we're going to do up here. Oh my goodness. The liquid pipe is being created out of granite again. I don't even want to look around the colony and see how much pipe is made out of granite. And you may be wondering, well, why am I so concerned about that? Because granite is for good stuff like decor. We have igneous rock that can do all this. Now, when we get in here, the back side of our cooling loop, I'm going to take our nickel radiant pipe and we're going to try to get as much coolant line in here as possible. And it looks like that'll work perfect. So we just know that this input line just has to somehow come back there. Now this has been a reoccurring topic in this channel for as long as I've had it. People come into the comments and they ask why I spend such energy cooling down source water. Why not just cool down what we're using it for? For instance, if you're feeding it to an overgrow plant, well, just cool the overgrow plant. Instead of cooling the water before it goes into your spawn that's going to heat up anyways, just cool the output. But the reason why I do it is because then I don't have to worry about where my ingest water is coming from. It's all going to be sitting at relatively the same temperature, and I can use it for whatever I want. Now, cooling a cool steam vent with just one thermo aquatuner takes quite a bit of work, but yet I'm also going to be cooling all of the output from this saltwater geyser. For that reason, I have added a second thermo aquatuner and once again put them in series. They're both going to be set on above 25 degrees because we're going to target around 30 degrees for the water coming out. And now that we got this vacuumed out, I can show you exactly what I plan on doing. And that is going to be building a cooling plate for all of the water from both the saltwater geyser and the cool steam vent to go through. I don't necessarily need it that chill, but I definitely don't want to be running 95 degree water around the colony, and I don't want to be running whatever the final temperature that the cool steam vent water condenses into all around the colony. Another thing I have to do with the cooling loop is keep the desalinator cool. Desalinators create a lot of heat at 8,000 DTUs and have a tendency to overheat. This is normally why you like them submerged. But in this particular design, I've sealed everything in, so there's no area for me to submerge it to. So we have our coolant loop going through, and the oxygen will be a decent enough conductor, but it's always a good idea to put a couple of temperature shift plates here. And I'll use diamond because we're rich on diamond. Now the rest of the loop, before it comes through the cool steam vent, which we really don't need that much cooling for. Remember, the cool steam vent, the only reason this loop is in here is to make sure the water is down to something like 99 degrees. And that way, as soon as the steam comes out of the cool steam vent, it condenses and then falls. It's also the reason why we keep 2 levels of water in here. In that way, this becomes the thermal mass that the temperature shift plates share the thermals with to ensure that steam instantly condenses. I think this is actually done in here. I'm just going to say as long as it's above 500, you can start pumping. And then we'll seal this in. I better do this top tile first so it doesn't overflow. All right, now before I start explaining this, remember, some of this is for science. I want to see if it can be done. May not be a good idea, but we're going for it anyways. Remember, our cooling loop is going to come down through this first insulated pipe here. It's going to start by cooling our desalinator, coming down, around, and then through a metal plate. Once it comes out of there, it goes through the cool steam vent tamer before it returns all the way back up to the pair of thermo aquatuners. Now we will be using polluted water, which gives us a small advantage because polluted water is a better coolant than, say, water, which is what we're trying to cool. Now the cool steam vent, I don't think I actually want to have this bridge have priority. So I'm going to remove that bridge, add another bridge here, and then we'll just do a 50-50 split that comes through there. And then all I have to do is fill this with a bunch of metal tiles. I had to queue up a little bit more nickel, but this should be good enough right now. Something else that I have to do is fill these 3 tiles, since I cannot build metal tiles over them, with polluted water. Polluted water because, well, it's a better coolant. More on this in a little bit. Update on our pair of aquariums. And see, you can tell that they're aquariums because they have adorable water forts. We're still waiting for the long haul of them filling, but we can start to do a little bit of this. We have the auto sweeper that's going to be able to reach anything that falls in here. And then we have a pair of conveyor loaders. The conveyor loaders will be able to take everything out, such as the eggshells or the meat. For the Pacu, we're going to be feeding them seeds. And I try to put the fish feeder towards the middle just to avoid any sort of pathing issues with the fish, who are notorious for getting stuck. And then we'll put the fish release right next to it. And then up top here, we're going to have 2 auto sweepers, 1 for each ranch. I think this is probably a good enough spot. Fish releases for both. And I'm going to move this around a little bit. I'd like to make sure that the auto super can load the Pacu eggs in here. So I might actually shift all this over by one. And if I do it there, I better do it here. And I suppose I don't need this door. It's not like the fish are going to jump out of this tile. I've also put another large power transformer here. And it is going to supply all the power for these ranches. Now that I've got the frameworks in, let me go over some of the logistics. All the Pacu eggs are going to come up and go into this tile. The reason why we're putting them in this tile is because we're going to wait for them to evolve into Pacu fillets. Once they do, this auto sweeper is going to grab them and put them all in this fish feeder that the Jawbos are then going to eat. Yes, you could just drop the Pacu in here, but while the Pacu only require 8 cells of space, the Jawbos require 12, which means we can start off with 12 Pacu in this one ranch. So we'll have 12 Pacu reproducing and providing eggs, and once I get them up and running, I can start to put them in here. Remember, the Pacu don't actually care about the size of the ranch, they care about the size of the water, so I'm only going to be able to put a few in here for right now. And with 24 tiles, it means I could put 3, so we'll start off with 3. And now I just gotta get a couple of my Pacu. I am also going to need something to feed the Pacu. Lucky for us, we have plenty of seeds around here. We have dew seeds. We also have sweat corn seeds, and that should be enough. If not, we can add some more seeds to it later, but we have quite a lot of seeds sitting here. I suppose we also have Laura seeds. Can they eat Laura seeds? Oh, yep. Laura seeds are on the way too. To make this a little bit more automated, I will use a bin to load all the seeds in. In fact, I can put them right there. That way it's a less of a run for the duplicants. I also need to make sure my incubator is set on Pacu eggs. And remember, that's also the reason why I wanted this auto sweeper to see in here. And that way, whenever this incubator needs a new Pacu egg, the auto sweeper can grab one, saving us a little bit of dupe labor. Our conveyor loaders are going to have everything from the polluted dirt that they're going to produce, the Pacu fillets, once they perish, and then the eggs. We have gulpfish, tropical Pacus, and Pacus. It would really help if the water was high enough for the fish feeder to reach. I suppose I'll start with a temporary fish feeder down here. Down here at the weird water cooling station, we are filling up that little cavity with the polluted water. Right now we got 260 kilos, so we still have quite a few more bottles to drop off, but all that water is going to come in here to this liquid pipe thermosensor. It's going to check to make sure it's cold enough before it allows the liquid shut off to let it go. And then once it does, it goes through this line and then connects and meets up with the water coming from our polluted water vents. That is already set at 30 degrees. Mostly. The cool slush geyser comes out at -10, but the polluted water vent does come out at 30. Another little side project I'm doing is trying to clean up this entire area because it got way too infected with all the polluted water that was down here. Yeah, the chlorine gas is an issue, but we'll eventually be able to deal with this water and then open this up. Chlorine will get eaten by our future dash of salt vines, and the bees will eat all the carbon dioxide. But the polluted oxygen wouldn't be going anywhere, especially considering all of our dupes are in suits, so they're not actually breathing it. So I figure while we have this power line here, I'll set up a few deodorizers and get this place all cleaned out while I wait for the world's largest aquariums to fill up. To tell you the truth, if I finish this sooner, it'll help, because then that'll be more water being added to that pipe. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get at least 5 kilos out per second. Remember, the full pipes are going to be 10, but we'll see. I just saw a message that said food is decayed, and I was like, whoa, 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 we have deep freezer. Unfortunately, it's the mimolette from the mimicas. But look at this. I can also feed that to the Pacu. We did finish the fossil blocks. Unfortunately, there's only 2 types that you can get, the dangler or the uncanny carapace. The good news is it does a lot for the decor, with each fossil decoration providing 50 decor in a radius of 6 tiles. I just don't know if I love the way it looks. I guess it's fitting for this playthrough, but looks like somebody forgot that you cannot dunk an incubator. Time to think about this one again. I didn't forget about the polluted water. You forgot about the polluted water. Why didn't you leave me a comment about the polluted water? It's okay, it's just joining the rest of the mess. I also suppose while I'm sitting here building this, it would probably be smart to load up the cooling loop, since my source of polluted water is right there. Let me try to find a convenient place. Oh, look at this, right here. Once again, big thanks to the clay devs for the addition of the bottle drainer. Oh, great examples here. The cool steam vent has just started erupting, and if we take a look at the gas overlay, you can see there is no gas, because as soon as the cool steam vent erupts with that steam, it instantly condenses. You'll notice right now the temperature shift plate's at 84 degrees because, well, it's been erupting for a little while and has managed to heat all of this water to 84. But now that we have the coolant going through it, it'll probably bring this water down to, I'm guessing, about 50. Because remember, that coolant loop has to go through all these tiles, dump all that chill, and then come through here with what's left, which it's still not too big of a deal because as long as, again, it's under about 100 degrees, we're good. Taking a look at our coolant, depending on the batch, for instance, this is 37 degrees. If I fast forward it here, you can see it's still 37. By the time it makes it out through the loop, yep, you guessed it, it's still 37. It's because all this water is 37. We're not dumping enough chill into these tiles, so I'm thinking we need a little bit more room to dump chill into. The idea I was thinking is if we cooled the outside, well, that chill would travel to the middle. But I think I can do this without having too much of an issue. I'll have the regular water come in, loop around, so it'll only have 3 layers, and our coolant will have 4. Let me drain some of this fluid. I'll set it temporarily up to 50 degrees. Gotta get rid of some of this water. After a little bit of changes, I'm sort of digging this. Now we have the 4 lines of polluted water coolant. Starts off by coming in through here after hitting the desalinator, goes all the way around the outside, and then goes in for an inside pass, coming all the way back out before finishing off at the cool steam vent, which it already has it down to about 72 degrees. That's not too shabby. And I think we're almost full in this loop. I think one more bucket ought to do it. I can continue sealing this place up. Oh, it's going so well. And since this line can only take so much water at a time, which I'm going to have to do some recombobulating of this as well, we're getting a full 10 kilos per second over here. Of course, right now I have this a little high, so let me reset that and we'll get a better estimate here in a minute. And as I scroll the loop, it looks like we are finally full. I've got one pipe empty. It's the way I like to do it to make sure we don't ever stop those thermal aquatuners. And then I'll seal this up and give you an update here in a few. Back over here in our aquariums, you can see I have the dupes helping out, filling up the aquariums, but we do have a tame Pacu, which means I can start doing the math for you. A Pacu that is properly being fed is gonna lay an egg at a reproduction rate of 67% per cycle. Or another way to say that is it takes 1.5 cycles for a Pacu to lay one Pacu egg. Well, they live for 25 cycles. Keep in mind they do not reproduce when they're babies, and then that takes up 5 cycles. So the time that they can reproduce is actually 20 cycles. Well, we just said they lay one egg every 1.5 cycles, so we can take 20 divided by 1.5, and we get a total of 13.3 eggs. Well, you can't have 0.3 of an egg, so we know that is 13 eggs per Pacu during their life cycle. Keeping in mind that one of those eggs is going to have to hit the incubator, so that means each Pacu will give us an excess of 12 Pacu, all within 25 cycles. When a Pacu perishes, it'll give us 1,000 calories. Well, if we go take a look at our Jawbo, you can see that it takes 1 Pacu per cycle, or 1,000 calories of Pacu fillet to keep them fed. So now we have our math that can tell us how many Jawbos we can support. We plan on running 12 Pacu in here, and we know that each Pacu will be able to give us 12 eggs, in addition what it takes to reproduce them in their 25 cycles, and we know those eggs are going to perish and eventually give us Pacu fillets, so we're going to get 12 Pacu worth of fillets times 12 Pacu in 25 cycles, for a total of 144 Pacu fillets. Well, when we take that 144 and divide it by 25 cycles, that's the lifetime of the Pacu, we can see that we get 5.76 Pacu fillets per cycle, once this whole thing is up and running, which means we'll be able to run 5 Jawbos. And those 5 Jawbos are going to be able to give us 60 kilos worth of rust per cycle, for a total of 300 kilos worth of rust, in addition to a bunch of Jawbo fillets. We will have a little bit of excess of the Pacu fillet because remember, we're able to support a little over 5.7 Jawbos but are only running 5. So there's a potential for some of the Pacu fillets to end up spoiling over time. More on our Jawbos is when they are in here, they're going to be dropping rust after they eat and Jawbo fillets after they perish. We're going to be sending all of that to this tile here. Additionally, we're also going to be able to pick up Jawbo eggs, which are going to be coming to this tile, and the auto sweeper also is in range of both it and the incubator. The reason why we have these 2 conveyor loaders here is one of them is going to be for our rust, sending all the rust into our rusty deoxidizer contraption. The other one's going to be sending Jawbo fillets off to our kitchen. Now granted, I have a very long time before that happens because, well, it takes a little while for these aquariums to spin up, especially when I don't have a fish release down here. So right now I'm doing it manually, but we can select Jawbo fillets on this conveyor loader here, and then I can grab some rail and find out, I think this is the closest kitchen rail. It is, so we will connect it like this. That kind of looks ugly, so we will redo it like this, and then all the Jawbo fillet we'll head down into our, what do we call this, the food and prep area? You've got to be kidding me, I still haven't fixed this? Why aren't you perishing, little dartles? We've got some fresh Pacu fillet here ready for a Jawbo. It's only 1, but I don't see why we can't throw 1 guy in there. It'll be a slow start. Now, where did I put you? There you are, fella. How old are you, 47? What about you, 84? Well, you can stay wild. We're going to grab this one, relocate you over here, and I should be able to keep up with the Pacu, especially considering we're almost done filling this aquarium. And then I won't have to worry about this because the fish release will work. In other exciting news, we were able to get a pink unitard from the pod. Let's find out who's next up. Oh, it's Brett Thomas, our newest dupe. Some of the other dupes are probably going to be a little bit cranky about that, Brett. You just got here and you already have a sweet, sweet pink unitard. Since I have so much time to wait for that aquarium to spin up, I am doing low-level sweeps all throughout the colony to try to keep the performance going well. And I noticed that we had a couple of Jawbos down here. I want to let you know that we did save the Jawbo. We're going to move them into this tank here. We'll keep some wilds until I know my Pacus are up to snuff, until I could load more Jawbos. Jawbo's reproduction is not nearly as fast as the Pacu. A properly fed Jawbo will lay an egg every 6 cycles, so it would take a lot longer to spin up the aquarium doing it that way. And I did want to show the animation that yes, even though the little fort's too small for the Jawbo, they still have fun with it. I am going to go ahead and put a timer on the incubator. I am now loaded up with 12 Pacu in the aquarium, and you may think, well, we don't need to power it then. Except for the fact that an unlullabied egg will take 5 cycles to incubate. In that case, we'd only be able to replace 5 Pacu in the 25 cycles that we need to replace 12. So instead, we'll incubate a few more. Just means we'll have more floppy floppies here, but that's not too big of a deal. With the incubator set on 75 for green and 600 for red, means our rancher will have plenty of time to come over here and lullaby these eggs. And right now, I'm just sort of eliminating some of the excess so that we can keep feeding this friendly little guy. All said and done, we have a bunch of Pacu eggs here waiting to expire, except they have to hatch, and then they gotta live their starvation life cycle before we actually start getting the Pacu fillets that the Jawbos need. You may be wondering why I don't add another fish release here and set it to Pacus so that we could be feeding the Jawbos fresh Pacu. And the reason is, well, you need more incubators. This lullaby egg at its standard 400% means we're going to get a fresh Pacu every single cycle. And you may think to yourself, we only need 12 Pacu within 25 cycles. But remember, 1 Pacu per cycle is not enough to feed 5 Jawbos. So you need 5 powered incubators all churning out eggs just to keep the Jawbos happy. So it's a little better just to have the slow startup time, waiting for your Pacus to start evolving into Pacu fillets, and then just feeding them that. I do have an egg in our Jawbo incubator, although it's going to be a little while. We're not powering this one. It's going to give us one Jawbo every 20 cycles, and with them having a lifespan of 100 cycles, means I'm going to be able to get 5 Jawbos from this one unpowered incubator. The rest of the eggs will just end up evolving in here. Our Pacu are finally starting to come online, which means our Jawbos are getting fed a little bit more often. I have this fish feeder set on 5 kilos, so at any one time it can hold 5 kilos worth of Pacu fillets. All the rest will head down to our kitchen with the Jawbo fillets. Now, I'm not cooking them yet, because on our smoked fish recipes we do only have Jawbo fillets selected, which means we can't use the Pacu, but maybe we'll end up making surf and turf or something out of it. But it does mean I need to update this conveyor loader to make sure it says Pacu fillet, and now they will be racked and stacked in our kitchen like everything else. Final update on our cooler. It is working absolutely as advertised. Since the throughput is backed up, since I don't have to fill those aquariums anymore, our water chiller is doing a phenomenal job and having no problems keeping up. Small update I added over here was just a little buffer tank and a bottle drainer. That way I can slowly start clearing the colony of all that salt water, and then I'll switch it over to brine. Now, it'll be a long time before it ends up going in there because of the way it's bridged on. This saltwater geyser will have to be dormant for a little while, and it doesn't go to its dormancy for another 24 cycles. Our cool steam vent water is down to 33 degrees, which is phenomenal because it means the water coming out of here is already going to be pretty chill. So the majority of the cooling potential is only going to be used to cool down this salt water, which again erupts it at 95°C. Once I clear out the rest of this area, I'll add a nice buffer tank system. That way we can start backlogging some of this water. But for now, our water spine having 10 kilos worth of 30-degree water per second, not too shabby for our needs. This episode certainly took longer than I expected. I don't know if I'm going to end up cutting it into 1 or 2 episodes. We'll see when we get it down to the editing floor, which happens to be the same exact desk I'm sitting at right now. In the next episode, we are going to be taking all this rust from the Jawbos and building a rusty deoxidizer contraption thing. I don't know, it's going to be another thing that needs a name. I hope you enjoyed our water chilling experiment and our aquarium build. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about both of them in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.